Today we're going to be looking at the differences between CPS 9.5 and CPS 12. As you can see, the icon is the same. I will double click on it to log in. Once the logon screen comes up, you'll notice the first change. The layout is all blue. That will follow us throughout. The login and password remain the same. Your location of care remains the same. If you float between offices, you do need to remember to change your location of care. We've reached the main menu of Centricity. As I said before, you'll notice that it is all blue. The File, Edit, View, Options, Help menu is still up at the top. Your icons are across the top that match the buttons down the page. The icons themselves, however, have changed. If I click on the Chart button, it will open up Chart. So now we are on our Chart desktop. I know that because it says it at the top left. The top right, it tells me who's logged in. I have the Find Patient window, which I can click. I have the arrow down, which keeps track of the last patients I've accessed. It tells me how many flags I have, how many documents I have, and there's also the log out button. If you'll notice, I no longer have the tabs that we had before. I now have more like a Windows 7 ribbon set up at the top. I have the Find Patient button again with the drop down with the list of my patients. I have Sign Document, which you notice is grayed out because I'm not clicking on a document. Document Viewer, Refresh, etc. I can send a flag from here. Please remember, if you send a flag from your desktop, it does not attach to a patient's chart. I can print from here, but also remember, this is printing my chart desktop information. I can get to Summary, Alerts and Flags, and Documents from here. We've previously said tabs are for viewing, buttons are for doing. This would be the tabs that you would have previously clicked on. So let's look at our Alerts and Flags. I clicked on the Alerts and Flags wording, which has taken the place of tabs. And I have my flags that I had previously. The dark flags are ones that I haven't read yet. I wanted to let you guys know, if I do a new flag and I have anything other than flag clicked on, I will end up with a flag with this plus, just like this flag to me from Candace Hood. And what happens is, especially if I have a pop-up alert, when someone goes into that chart, that care alert or that pop-up alert pops up on the chart to notify every physician and everyone that goes into that chart of the information that you put in the flag. So please remember to make sure that you have type of flag selected. If for some reason it is not, you should be able to click it once and it default from then on out. If you have any questions, please let me know. I can open reply just like I could before. Same thing with my documents. I can view documents from this screen. I can open them, edit them, etc. I can also view other people's alerts and flags and documents. Underneath here, I have Chart Desktop, Chart Reporting. This is your clinical reporting, such as I saw a patient who has diabetes and had broken her ankle, and I saw her on the week of August 5th, and I need to find out who that patient was. So long as that information is entered in Centricity, I can find it for you. But generally these reports are run by either myself or Bonnie. You can also go to the scheduling module. If you look down here, you see that I have icons that match the ones that were on the main screen. If I click to the right, I get the list of all of the different options where I can go. I can also hover over the icons and it will tell me where it will lead me. If I want to change the buttons, which buttons are viewable, I can uncheck or check them here on my list. In my case, I have them all checked and have not gone in to edit them. Now this is viewable whether I'm on my summary screen, alerts and flags, or documents. But let's say I want to find a patient now. I have the Find Patient button here, which is new in this version. Previous versions, you didn't have Find Patient till you were in a chart. I have a Find Patient button here. I also have Control F, which is what I'm going to use, which gives me the Find Patient window. The only thing that's changed here is it's now blue. But I'm going to pull up a test patient. And this test patient, up top, I have the Find Patient window again. I have phone note, refill. I can do a flag. Remember, if you do a flag from within a patient's chart, it automatically attaches the patient's chart. If you do it from a document within a patient's chart, it automatically attaches that document to the flag. All that means is when someone opens it up, it will open up the chart and let you view the document. I can print from here. If I click print, I get the options that I had before. If I want to import a chart summary the patient brought with them, I can do that right here. For steps on doing that, please get with us when you have your first import. To the left here, I have different options. I have a list of documents that are editable. I have an office visit from 8/22. I can click edit from here. I have the chart summary, which tells me problems, meds, allergies, directives, and alerts and flags. And then underneath, I have the tabs that we had before. If I need to add a problem, I simply come here, click this box, which makes my problem window grow in size. I click on the plus sign to add, as in the other modules. And I have the option here to search for problems. Now this looks different from our previous versions. If you'll notice, it pulls up Dr. Andrew Foray's hand and wrist, but I want to pull up what we call the Smart List. The Smart List will create your own custom list that is specific to you, not your group, not your specialty, to you. So let's say if I want to add knee pain to this patient, I select my knee pain diagnosis. Here's my ICD-9 and my ICD-10. If I know an onset date or an end date, that's okay. Save and continue if I have more. Say okay if I don't. I'm going to say okay. Now, because we cannot add anything into a chart without an update being open, a clinical list summary has been created to add the problem. So I still have to end this update. I want to remove Dr. Noble, and I need to sign it. If I want to look at the patient's medications, I can click right here. It will maximize the medications window. I can view information about that medication. I can click on the plus and add a new medication. Because this plus is actually creating a chart note for you, because remember, you cannot document unless you have started a chart note. It's telling me that there's already an office visit for 8/22 started, but I want to do a new document. And this is the medication window that we're already used to seeing. Please remember, if you want to use the name brand, you must check here. Medications can be distributed in different forms. So right here, we have those different forms. We have an ampule, applicator, bag, bar, bead, etc. So we are going to go to the ortho list. We'll add some Bactrim. And we're giving the tablets. So we're going to give them 14 tablets, and it defaulted for me. I say okay. It's telling me that I need to put a refill count in if I'm going to electronically prescribe. Don't want to list that as 0. Yes, I do. Now you notice this screen is blue. If I want to go back and look at the text, I can come here. Here's where I added the Bactrim. If I want to look at the forms, I haven't added a form, I just added a medication. But I need to end this and sign it. Remember to remove your doctor, and you're not going to become the provider. This is a review of what your electronic prescription is going to look like. Do I want to go ahead and complete it? Yes, I do. Complete review. Let's go back to the chart summary. We've added a medication. The allergies would be the same. So let's go ahead and start an office visit. We're going to start an ortho office visit, but it could be for any of the others. We're going to do new document. We will do, portal ortho. Remember that you can predate, you can't post-date. Pick my provider. Make sure my location is correct. If the patient has been transferred here from an outside provider, you need to check off this box that said encounter is a transition of care. I say OK. These forms should look the same for you. We have the HPI, vitals, past medical history, and surgeries. Now if you notice, the form stops there, and I'll show you why in just a moment. If you are scribing for a physician, you want to click this button that says acting as scribe. If the physician referred the patient here, you would enter that information, and this box is for the chief complaint. Now, I do have the buttons at the bottom that will let me go next form, but if you notice on the left and the right of the form, I have these blue bars. This one will let me move to the previous form. This one will let me move to the next form. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next form. You can also still move by clicking on the forms to the left. Here's our family history form. I will let you know that due to new regulations for meaningful use, we can no longer say that the patient has a family history of diabetes. We have to let them know who in the family has the history. So if you notice, we have daughter, father, brother, etc. So we would pick the relative. Let's say the family member has diabetes. There's a comment about the family member with diabetes. This comment will be added to all checkboxes in the family history. This will be added to just the diabetes. This will be a preview. And then I click save. And it tells me here this patient has diabetes. You'll notice if I switch to sister, I get a yellow button that says refresh. I need to click on that button. It does not refresh the values over here. It refreshes the screen so I can now list another problem this patient has. Let's say the mother has a history of ovarian cancer, and I want to save that. I save. Now, if I realize that I have listed the wrong thing and I want to remove it, I can come down here. I've selected the sister, and I select my removal reason. Maybe it was entered in error, and you see how this turns yellow, and I just click remove, and now we're back to just daughter. I go to the next form. This is the risk factors form we're used to looking at, except that it's blue. Here's our social history form that we're used to seeing. Here's our medication and allergies review. You do want to make sure that you review that patient's medication and allergies for two reasons. One, to meet the meaningful use measure that we actually did review the patient's medications. Two, when we print a clinical visit summary, all of the active medications print to the patient, as well as their active allergies and their active problems. And we have had patients call to update their records. The review of systems form we're used to seeing. Please remember, if the review of systems was updated prior to November of 2011, do not use the import previous button. just as it has been before. We have our exam buttons. You pick the correct exam. This may be from the physician, or some people have their clinical staff do it. Whoever is in charge of picking the exam, just choose it like you typically would. And then we have our assessment and plan. This form did not change. Okay, so once I've finished my assessment and plan, I look at my prescription refill page. I don't need to refill any of these medications, so I go to the next page. This is if we are having any restrictions for this patient, or can the patient return to work? Can they just do sedentary work? And then we get to the meaningful use checklist page. You'll remember before I said on the problems, meds, and allergies, we need to make sure that we review them and check that they're reviewed. If you notice, I didn't. It's telling me this is missing. It's also clinical visit summaries must go out within 1 day of the patient's visit within the office. And a summary of care, no referral order was present. I didn't need to refer this patient to anyone. Let's say we wanted to go ahead and generate the CVS. If I click generate, this gives me a table of contents. If you send this electronically, these table of contents are hyperlinked to the correct form, which means if I clicked on immunization, it would show the patient's immunization. We have advanced directives, allergies, adverse reactions, etc., assessments, chief complaint, family history, just to show you what goes on this clinical visit summary that some patients actually do read. Plus we have the instructions. This is going to pull your plan. If I wanted to edit this form, all I can do is tell it not to print certain criteria. And so I'm going to save and close, which is going to put a copy of this in the chart to prove that we actually sent it. I'm going to print it or save it and send it. The save and send workflow, we will let you know. Our patient portal people just finished updating patient portal so that we'd be able to do that. I don't have the steps as of right now. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I'm not hooked up to an active printer. And in this case, we'll say the patient denied the CVS. As was previous, you can say that some patients denied it. You cannot say that all your patients denied it. Instead of going to end update, I would click on end. Now, if this were not a new patient, and I didn't have the checkbox to say that I reviewed their allergies, or I needed to get back to their chart summary for some reason, all I have to do is minimize right here, and I can look at their chart summary. I can also look at their documents. This was created so that you could have an update up and also review any previous office visits. But we're going to end the update. This you're used to seeing. We're going to remove Dr. Noble, and in this case, I'm going to sign it. Now let's talk a little bit about meaningful use. Core Measure 1 states that more than 60% of your medication, 30% of your lab, and 30% of your radiology orders be created by the eligible professional in the EHR. And if you remember, most of you have taken a test and gotten your certification number to be able to enter those orders. Step 1 measure just said 30% of their medication. Step 2 stretches that out and it wants medication, lab, and radiology. We have classified them in the background, so you don't have to pay attention to that. What you do have to do is enter your orders in the system. Remember, if you are sending the patient to the clinic or to the Prepare Center, to not remove Clinic Lab as your service provider, otherwise the message will not go to Orchard. Core Measure 4 is talking about recording of vital signs. Core Measures 2 and 3 will be taken care of by your IT staff. Core Measure 4 states that more than 80% of all unique patients seen by your eligible professional have blood pressure and height and weight for all ages for patients over 3. Recorded as structured data. We are obtaining that information up front. Core Measure 5 is asking that we record smoking status. On Stage 1, we were only required to have 50% of all unique patients. Stage 2, we're required to have more than 80% of patients older than 13. We've previously spoken about clinical visit summaries needing to be done within 1 day. Core Measure 8 talks about clinical visit summaries must be provided within 1 business day, and you must offer at least 1 electronic format option. We are going to offer that we send the visit summary through our patient portal. We talked about how to create and update the visit summary. Core Measure 12 talks about preventative care reminders. Currently, we are going to send out letters to your patients reminding them that they need to go get their flu shots and requesting that they contact their primary care physician, and if they do not have a primary care physician, giving them the main number of the clinic so that we can get that set up. If you have any questions, please write them down and bring them with you to the training session that you have signed up for. If there are any other issues, please let Bonnie Capo know.